this computer, and we're live. What's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of QuickMail.io.
And this is Jack from salesbread.com. Get ready for my elevator pitch. Beam, boom, beam, boom, beam, boom. If you're in a hard to crack market and you'd like to get one lead a day without hiring or training a sales rep for yourself or doing any extra work besides closing, we can help with that. If you want to see what's working with Outbound, go to salesbread.com, click the contact page and schedule a free 15-minute chat with me, and I'll show you what's working for our clients in a whole bunch of different industries. And that's it.
Man, I'm jealous. I really need to work on my one-liner too, man. Okay.
Well,
challenge accepted.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Next episode.
Next episode. All right.
All right, cool.
That's all do.
But sort of my mantra, and this is going to lead into our topic for the day, has been do the easy stuff well. Like there's a lot of easy marketing outbound stuff that everybody knows about, but when it gets down to it, we're just not, what's the right word? Acting. We're not executing on those simple things. So an elevator pitch, or like we'll talk about today, a way to warm up or at least keep those leads engaged with you that tell you, hey, come back to me in 3 months. There's a really easy, stupid, simple thing to do. You already know it, but you're not doing it. And so that's what I want to talk about with Jeremy today.
Damn, I wanted to say something, but I also didn't want to interrupt you. Oh yeah, it makes me think of really what we're doing when we sort of like rewarming or keeping the lead warm is really, we want to keep this ranking high in the brain SEO, which means that when I'm thinking of something, you should rank first. And of course, if the last time I heard about you, was like 2 years ago and I don't even recall you, then obviously you're not going to rank first. But if I receive an email like last week, for example, saying like, hey, by the way, are you still looking for, something? Then it will be like, whoops, it will go back up into my brain. And if some of my friend is telling me like, hey, do you know anyone that does that? I say, well, as a matter of fact, and I think that's probably what we're trying to achieve. Am I on the right line?
Absolutely.
Correct? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's nice, and let's paint the picture here. So the purpose of this topic will be, Jeremy, let's say you reached out to me, I agreed to a call, we talked about some stuff, and I just said, this sounds interesting, but right now I am slammed. If you reach out to me in 2-3 months, I'll have a new set of budget guidelines. I'll be able to bring my team members in. Check in with me then. Okay.
Yep, that happens.
The rookie will do nothing until that date occurs, and they'll say, hey, this is John. From the call we had 3 months. Oh, you don't remember? Oh, you already went with somebody else. Oh, okay. Have a good day. Right. That's what you don't want to happen. And unfortunately happens all the time, even with pros. Yeah. So I'll show you what I do. I'm curious to hear if you have any tips on how you would handle that. I'm going to be like interested in your automation ideas because obviously QuickMail helps with this stuff. But yeah, so I'll show you two, like, again, stupid, simple things that actually work well. If somebody tells me, hey, Jack, this sounds cool, but I'm going to be really ramping up outbound stuff probably in about March. Why don't you reach out to me about 3 or 4 months? The first thing I'll do is I'll say, okay, I know it's crazy far into the future. Let's pull up our calendars really quick and actually just get something there so that we don't have to play any follow-ups. How's noon? And obviously they're probably going to have nothing going on that day if it's 4 months in the future. How's noon work for you? Yeah, sounds good. And then I will book it and share it with them and say, did you get the link? Just click the okay. Okay, perfect. We're all set. And sometimes I'll get pushback. And in that case, they may say like, no, I don't want to schedule something that far out. Send me an email when it gets closer. Yeah. That's where I'll use an email like reminder. So I'm curious, can QuickMail help us with this, or do you recommend using another tool?
Yeah, I mean, definitely you can use QuickMail. I'd like to come back quickly on your point. One of the things I like to do when this is those cases, it's sometime arbitrary to just say like, okay, well, let's schedule something in 6 months time. If they say like, reach out to me in 6 months. Sometimes people don't have the calendar so far and so on, but I imagine in your case, it's probably easier than in my case because you're in a service mode. It's like, fine, but I can't guarantee you that in 6 months, I won't get booked or I will have still spot or room, to propose those service to you. Now we have two choices. Either, we try to feed that earlier and we're sort of like ramping up. Maybe we can consider that in 2-3 months and then at least reconnect there and then see is that still something that is going to come in 3 months. Then I can update you on my availabilities and you can update me on where you are in your journey. That's what I like to do. Or the other thing is that otherwise, what's the other thing? Either we put them in 2-3 months, or if it is
you lock
6
them in
months,
something now.
Yeah, basically what I like to do is to put them into a sort of like nurturing list. Is like basically saying something like, otherwise what I can do is like send you some tips, if like, so at least I bring you up to speed on some type of topic. So if, for example, they're interested in, I don't know, like outbound lead generation forever, or for example, then effectively in your case, you can say like, let me add you to my own list. Like it's a weekly list. It will get you up to speed and hopefully you'll get really good stuff along the way, which is a perfect thing because every week now they're going to be reminded of you. And as soon as they need that stuff, they say like, man, this person's been giving so much value. I'm going to go with this person. They know what they're talking about. They're not, one.
Yeah, that's stellar. And I think that's the core of this podcast is you need to use email to stay in front of this lead that has at one point said, I'm interested, but not yet. And I would contact that lead until they tell you they're no longer interested or you die, right? That's kind of my philosophy when somebody raises their hand and says, yes, I'm interested. Okay.
So just to come back, because you actually asked me, would I use quick mail? Yes, I would. I would actually have a second campaign and the first step is a wait. And so add them to this campaign and then I cancel them and specify a certain time in the future where I will start resuming my campaign. And of course, this campaign will be ahead of time. So if it says in 6 months, I will reach out to them in 2, 3, or 4 months and saying like, hey, we had a discussion like 2 months ago about XYZ. Just wanted to make sure we're still on track for having, are you still on track for Q4, for example, or the next quarter and stuff like that? And it's basically like a drip campaign. They don't have to answer the first one, but at least I won't sort of like lose the lead in that way.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. And that would go to everyone who said, yes, let me check back in with you in 4 months or something.
That's right.
So I have a slightly different approach here, but not different in the fundamentals. What I first try and do is get that call booked, because a lot of us just, if we've agreed to something, we have a really hard time going back on our word. It's part of the commitment and consistency principle from our good old friend Cialdini from Influence, great book. So I'll try and get the call book. If not, I will add an auto message that gets fired off near that time they ask me to check back in. But no matter what, I will end that call with a very simple ask. I'll say, okay, cool. So we're going to be talking about 4 months down the road. It's kind of a lot of time. In the meantime, can we stay in touch? Do you mind if I add you to my newsletter? I message a couple times a month with just helpful things if you're interested in Outbound. Can I go ahead and just put your email on? I have never in my entire career had somebody say no to that. If they'll talk to you, I can't imagine them not wanting to get a occasionally helpful email, right? So that's a no-brainer, and I will manually type their name in while I'm on the call. And I'll say, did I spell that right? Or I'll copy it from the calendar invite, paste it in there so I don't mess it up. And if you're good with this, Jeremy, we can transition to saying like, what the heck should you put on that newsletter?
Yeah.
For a very basic drip campaign, right?
Absolutely. Okay. What's your content here? Do you just basically contact them, add them to your newsletter and then sort of like ignore them until the D-Day, or what do you do?
Right. So here's what I do. first thing, hear Jack's email marketing philosophy, and it will surprise you when you find out that my background is in traditional email marketing campaigns that are opt-in and long copy that gets people to click stuff. But my philosophy is not sending is way worse than sending pretty good emails. So yes, it's better to send a message that you typed on your phone on the way to the airport
than
twice
no email,
a month,
of course,
than no email at all. And I'll tell you
right.
A very short story that I promise will change your mind if you don't believe me 100% yet. When I was doing my traditional email marketing copywriting stuff, somebody would come to me and say, Jack, we got this big list of leads generated from PPC. I haven't touched it in a year or two. Go ahead and try and like re-engage them. And I would send a message that said this: hey, Bill,
if you don't
you
like
signed
it,
up a
please
couple.
Remove.
Yeah, it's pretty much, you signed up a while ago about XYZ. We finally got around to putting a newsletter that's going to cover tips on blah, blah, and blah. If you don't want to hear about it, that's totally fine. You can opt out here. Otherwise, stay tuned for X. That email would convert and bring more sales than the other campaigns that came after it, because it was just the first time they saw the logo pop up and say, yeah, that's right. I've been meaning to.
I remember. Yeah.
I remember that. And that email generating sales just taught me that just merely getting in front of somebody, if it's the right somebody at the right time, is half of marketing. Okay, so with that in mind, here's a couple of things that you can do. Jeremy, I'm curious if you agree, disagree here. But if you produce anything like a service, all you need to do is, as you keep making stuff for people, just write a little case study about it, put it on the blog, and then send an email that says 4 sentences. We just did this for this company. Here's what happened. Click here for more. And that's it. That's the simplest thing you could do. So if you're in a service base or you're a consultant and you have a testimonial you can share, I mean, that wouldn't be the worst email to send. It would be even better if you said, look, this was the big takeaway from this project. We learned that when you spend this much on Facebook ads, you should be doing 4 different kinds of tests. Here's the results that back it up. You can click for more, but that's it. Have a great rest of your, Monday. May your ads be profitable, signature. And just doing that for the people that have said, yeah, check back with me later. It's going to make that conversation much easier, much shorter sales process. They probably will reach out to you before that date and say, you know what, I saw some of your emails. I talked to my team. Yeah, we kind of want to see where you're at with X. Like, it just works so good. And I'm on my soapbox here ranting, but I've had enough CEOs or founders or sales development VPs say, what should we create to help this effort with Outbound? It's always, how are you going to keep these leads warm when they're not ready to buy right then and there? Because if you're listening, you don't have a 2-week sales process, right? It's usually months or years. So the longer your sales process, the more you need this.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Well, that reminds me that we're using SendFox for newsletters. And one of the reasons why I choose SendFox is that they automatically generate aggregated emails from the activities on your site. Like if we had new blog article, then it will automatically add it. They will also automatically add a podcast. And so for me, who is absolutely terrible at writing on a regular basis to our users, I find that as a good compromise, in a sense, that, keep them still informed into like, hey, what's going on, and so on, without me having to spend the effort. And I think for me, this is an absolute killer feature. And without this feature, then it will be sitting, my list will be sitting and not receiving any emails. So with this, it's actually is something that works. And by all means, this is not the best email for sure, because they're sort of like auto-generating, saying like, hey, here's what happened last week. And then there is a list of posts or podcast episodes. But at least that keeps reminding people like, oh yeah, that's true. There's the episode. Let me check it out. And that in itself, I think it's valuable.
So brilliant idea. Like, I think what we're trying to do is make this important, simple, yet you probably aren't doing it thing done. So having a tool that will take a blog post and turn to an email, I think that's fabulous. Definitely check out those at sendfox.io or something.
Sendfox.com. Yeah.
.com. Okay.
They call it Smart Campaign, which is basically, a RSS feed of what change on your website. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm all for it. So it sounds like I picked something up from James Schramko. He was on the show a couple months back, but what he does is he'll take time crafting a podcast episode. And I should be clear, he's recording the audio, interviewing the guest, and then he hands that audio to a team member who edits it. And then that audio gets turned into a blog post from a team member. And then that blog post then gets broken down into an email. And it's the same format every single week, where it's just kind of a bullet point. Here's all the highlights in the episode, and then a link at the bottom, and then a 2-sentence intro. And every one of the emails I get from James is the same, but it works. And the beauty there is he used a team to kind of get that done, make sure he's continuing to reach out to his list of people that have raised their hand for more information. And I just think everybody listening can take a couple hours this week or next, but just don't let 2020 come to an end without having some kind of a plan or email system in place to keep these leads that you work so hard and spend so much resources to generate. You don't want them to go in cold, especially if the way to prevent that is kind of brain dead simple. So hopefully this shared enough insight. And I love the SendFox idea too. That's cool.
You have another thing that I've been using. I don't use it anymore, but I still like it. It's called podreacher.com. So pod, P-O-D, and reacher, REACHER.com. And basically, this is a service where you give them your podcast episodes, and they will transform that into a blog post for you. And they do it pretty well. They are ex-writers for magazines and stuff like that. So you end up with a pretty good quality article that you can reuse. And I like them. I've been using them and so on. We're using different things now, but that's something that worked pretty well for us.
Okay. Yeah, I think the theme I'm hearing from both of us is maybe know your strengths. If this is something that you probably aren't going to get around to as the founder, that's fine. I don't think the founder should be doing it, but there's people who will help you, or tools that will help you do this.
Yeah, and you can outsource those things. This is a great thing, is that for those specific things, it's not like they need to reinvent the content. You just produced it, whether it's through your podcast, maybe you're interviewing people in your industry, and then after that you package it, and then which is great actually in this case, because then people receiving your email also may know the other brand and say, oh, that's so cool, and then so they associate you. But one of the things that you can easily do, and Jack, that I don't like, and I don't do it very well, like promoting my own tool, but build a simple crafting sequence, 2 months, click the box that says don't stop on reply, which basically is a simple drip campaign. People can't opt out unless they click on the opt out, and basically just write the content. It's not like, don't feel like you have to recreate every time, every week, new content. It's like, it's likely that if someone is looking for SEO, an SEO agency, and then you contact them and they say, well, talk to me in 3 months. Right now, we're busy. We're firefighting on some part of our product. But after that, we do want to improve our SEO ranking. Fine, there is a chance that this person will start from 0 or close to 0. And then you can put them into a campaign that will bring them nicely from one step to another step. And for them, that'll be great, just warming them up to that point. And that's absolutely 0 new content. It's like everyone you put on this list receive the thing at the same interval. And that way you build it once and you're done, right? You don't have to find new things to say every week because, my content's been already used. And it's like, no, it hasn't. There's new people on your list. It's just like.
Great point.
Yeah.
Great point. It's
So
not
that's an
rocket science,
evergreen.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean,
Like,
how
in
many
fact,
hours do you think it would take to put this together, Jeremy?
it depends on your level of, perfection,
Just
but
basic. No. Remember, let's go for pretty good.
pretty good. I think you can, just time like 30 minutes per email, do it 6, space them by, 1 week each already. And then you got like, a couple of, almost close to, well, you could have a couple of months fairly
Right.
easily. I know my friend Amar, who is the CEO of ZenMaid. I think he's got like 12 months of content for whoever comes to his, check into his list. And I think it's great. I think that's exactly what you should do, because 12 months is a yearly cycle. There is chances that there is up and down, and every quarter there is new priorities. And I think it's a great
Makes a lot of
way. And
sense.
you can keep on adding. This is the other thing, is that I can start building my 2 months content, see how it performs. Like, do people actually re-engage more easily? And after the 2 months, you can still, or even after 1 month, you can keep on adding. It's not like, yeah, I need to build it and then, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't need to build like
It's
1
true.
year straight away. I
It's
can
an
just
asset.
keep on adding.
Yeah.
And even change the order. If people, feel like I lost some people around, touch 12, let's change touch 12,
Very good. Yeah, the stats will help you with that. Okay, so if you're listening, have we convinced you that you should put a couple of messages in a drip campaign? You're
Yes,
saying, yeah,
Jack.
Jack. Yeah, Jeremy. Okay, good. Then I'm happy. And I'll leave the episode with one last hack that I do. And if you book a 15-minute call with me on salesforce.com/contact, then it's going to pull up a little calendar thing. You click the day, and then as soon as you confirm the time, you're going to get redirected to a page that says, thanks for booking. Should I add you to my very boring newsletter right now? And I say, just kidding. We send kick-ass emails that help you get better at outbound sales. And then there's an opt-in box right there. And so if you think about the engagement, the level of engagement that prospect has with your brand, it probably isn't higher than either right after they pay or right after they book that first call. So right now that page has like a 40% opt-in rate.
That's pretty
And
good.
the nice thing is it's pretty good, but it's also my people. These are folks that they want to talk to me not for fun. I'm a nice guy, but they want to get answers. They want to fix their problem of lead gen. So if you're booking calls, I would recommend redirecting them to an opt-in page because it's an easy way. It takes 30 minutes to set up, and then you'll just continually adding high quality leads to your funnels, right? So we took a path towards the traditional email marketing route, which was kind of fun for us like outbounders to do, because to be honest, I think outbound salespeople are maybe willing to hustle more. So we'll do a couple things that can get people engaged, even if they don't come to us first. But if we take those same principles and apply that to the inbound, once the outbound leads say yes, things get a lot better in terms of speeding up the sales cycle. Makes sense?
It does. Well said, Jack.
All right. Killer.
And for people who don't want to speak to you for fun, they don't know what they're missing.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure. Usually we have fun. Right. I mean, what's the word? Playful. That's how you approach your sales calls, right?
That's
Jeremy?
right. And playful doesn't mean not professional. I'm like super professional, but I like to be playful too.
So
with that,
you'll wear flip-flops. You'll wear flip-flops, but
no, I mean, this is casual. It's nothing to do. Being playful is that enjoying as I'm speaking, and just be a bit playful with the prospect, not the way I look or the way I do things.
That's true. I like to think like not every part of our workday is fun or enjoyable, so it might as well be a nice break when I get somebody on a Zoom call. Hopefully just they leave that call a little bit better off, no matter what they decide or do as a next step. And have some damn fun while you're at it too. Like what's
You know,
the whole point, right?
I'm going to tell you a small secret, Jack. And of course, this is not a secret. Everyone will know about it. But I remember at the very beginning of Quick Mail, there were some enterprise that come and talk to me. And it was like, it was obvious that those people were just bored and just inviting startups to just talk and entertain them just because they are bored at
You're
work.
kidding. You're
No,
kidding.
I'm not kidding. And so therefore I started to stop like, okay, let's stop wasting my time and then just focus on doing other things. But yeah, I mean, if you think about it, those people, I mean, people usually in big companies, not all, of course, and I'm biased. I only went to 3 different industries, but they're usually bored at work. And so, you know, they welcome any distraction. So they will take you on, you know, on having a call with you, like, sure, yeah, let's have a talk. So they can justify it to their boss, and they just have like 30 minutes or an hour, just, you know.
So true. Yeah, that's a great thing to keep in mind too.
Yeah, so you don't want tire kickers. So, you know, use people who, you know, rack the shotgun like previous episodes. You know?
Good point. Okay, shoot, while we're on it, one final tip here. And in order to remove tire kickers, I have a couple of questions that will filter out people. Like I've canceled calls based on how people fill out questions. And one of them is just point blank, are you interested in our done for you lead generation service? Question mark.
Do people say no?
It's not yes or no. Sometimes I'll get, you know, like, well,
maybe
it's either yes, or some people will say maybe, or you'll have to convince me, but don't do any selling. Or
that's a fun one.
I want information, but do not pitch, you know, like, or you know, like I just have to imagine these people have been burned so many times from marketers that I'm just, you know, a little empathetic. But
that's a fair
I like
point.
to ask that question because
it's probably based on past experience.
For sure. So I don't take it personal. In fact, somebody
misconception.
this week,
because honestly, you know, I used to really hate sales and sales schools and stuff like that, and now I actually enjoy because I'm trying to analyze, you know, how they're doing it, and but yeah, could be also that.
Yeah. So feel free to put in like a barrier. You don't want everyone to have access to your calendar, and you know, we can maybe have a second cast on how to set up your days so that you have more productive meetings in different chunks throughout your week. Maybe you don't take calls on certain days or whatever, but I think the easier it is to book a call, the harder your question should be once they fill out that form. And an obvious one, where did you hear about us? Like once I stuck that on the scheduling call, I learned so much more, because half the time I'd ask people when they join, oh, cool. And by the way, before we get started, very selfish question, where'd you hear about our agency? You know, I don't remember. Like, are you serious? You know, so now I stuck it on the scheduling page and everybody says, you know, something helpful, whether or not they remember when we meet. So anyways, hopefully this ramble was a good ramble.
Yeah, absolutely. Not necessarily on topic, but it's still awesome to hear those style of tips and stuff.
Yeah, not necessarily like every key to the kingdom here, but at least, you know, a key ring that you can use for a couple of different you know, elements of this sales game. So anyways, Jeremy, great cast. Thanks, man.
Great cast, Jack, as usual. Catch you later.
Awesome.